What's going on, space weather types? We've got another episode of the Daily Space Weather Show coming at you today. We've got spectacular imagery, as you may have come to expect from the channel. We've got a cosmology story or two, solar radio jets, a new forecast from NOAA, and an increase in solar activity. So let's get to it. And lots more here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We'll be talking about solar fields, and we'll be talking about all kinds of stuff. It's an exciting episode. I'm excited. Hopefully you are as well. This is the past 24 hours from SDO and ionized helium. The classic 304 angstroms wavelength. You might see some activity down there in the lower right corner. There was a filamentary collapse. We didn't really see a CME associated with that, but there are certainly a lot of filaments on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. There's a magnetic tug-of-war going on over there on the left side. The eastern solar limb. We've named several solar filaments after certain of your favorite oligarchs. We'll talk about it and lots more. But first, take a moment to press the like button. Yeah, press like. If you don't, we will find you and we will shame you. We need your assistance getting the content onto screens. You ought to see the pathetic number of views we had yesterday, as if there's not a market for space weather. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Okay, hey YouTube, recommend the content. Hey viewers, press share. Leave us a comment, especially if we're making you mad with the content. Those are, well, I don't know if they're our favorite comments, but yeah, we like them all. So leave us a comment whether we're making you mad, happy, or neutral about the videos. Tell your friends and foes, press the share button, hit us up on social media. You'll find us all over the internet at Smash-O-Mash. It's only the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content and most detailed imagery of the sun. If you are into solar imagery, we're into stargazing too, and there's no more interesting one to look at than the closest one and its daily antics. So thanks to all of our new YouTube viewers, cheers. Congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. The following are paid advertisements. Yeah, we've got paid endorsements on the channel because we strive to make the content sustainable. So if you knew what our operating loss was per year, you would be stunned that we continue to exist. It is massive. So visit our homepage, smashomash.com. Hit us up on social media, like I said. Check out the merch. Check out the paid endorsements. As we attempt to make the channel continue to exist, remain publicly visible, and free for all to view, smashomash.com, and welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Again, the following are paid endorsements. Check out the Amazon shop. You'll find most of the supplements that I like to take. One of them is L-lysine. It's an essential amino acid, meaning you can't produce it endogenously inside the body. You've got to take it in via diet. L-lysine, one of the most essential amino acids. I discovered it while looking at neonatal vitamins one day. I thought, maybe that has some benefits. So I did some research, and it turns out it has all kinds of benefits. It's responsible for the production of hormones, enzymes, and antibodies, and as you could imagine, that's kind of important to your health. It's also great at rebuilding skin. It's good at building collagen. For example, if you have skin issues, L-lysine might solve your skin issues. Some people even take it to suppress things like viruses. Yeah, it's true, folks. That is not a medical claim. We make no claims about the medical efficacy of L-lysine. However, you might want to try it out. You can find it at our Amazon shop, amazon.com/shop/smashomash in the supplements section. Another paid endorsement is our Hemp Lucid shop, so check that out if you haven't. You can save big time on stress, sleep, and immune stacks, and you can save a little bit also on things like mushroom gummies. There you go. Save $5 on mushroom gummies and save $15 on stress, sleep, and immune stacks. If you haven't tried those out, if you're having trouble sleeping, if you're having trouble with your stress, or if you're thinking your immune system isn't working the way it ought to, maybe try those out. Let us know if they work for you in the comments. Thanks to everybody who has helped support the channel in the various ways. Another way to do it would be to not shart light. Yeah, shart lighting. Are you familiar with it? Shart lighting. It means attempted gaslighting. Because remember, folks, when somebody fails to gaslight you, when they try to convince you that the past happened differently and they fail at it, it's not gaslighting. Gaslighting is when them lying to you succeeds. It's a psychological abuse. Gaslighting. Shartlighting is completely different, and there's a lot of it going on the internet constantly. Yeah, shartlight. It means to fail to gaslight somebody only to take a crap on one's own credibility. And of course, it's happening constantly. Bureaucrats are doing it all day long. How many bureaucrats out there are misleading shareholders, misleading voters, misleading elected officials, etc.? Lots of shartlighting going on social media, that's for sure, as people pathetically try to convince each other that things happen differently than they did. Well, never try to gaslight somebody with a better memory than you. You'll fail, and your own credibility will suffer, not the person who you're attempting to psychologically abuse. Shartlighting. And save 30% off site-wide at the Redbubble shop, by the way. Yeah, we coin terms over here at smashomash.com, and one of the latest ones is shartlighting. You can use that. It's not copyrighted. Shartlight. Facts. And the best way to support the channel is via smashomash.com/smashteam. Why? Because I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why right now. Because in 2019, a crack YouTube unit was sent to social media prison for a crime we didn't commit. We promptly escaped a maximum security, pathetic, and ridiculous un-American social media stockade to the internet underground where we survive as producers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find the videos, maybe you can hire the Smash Team. No, you definitely can. You can go to a website since you're viewing this video. It's right there on the homepage. Once again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, and let's get back to space. So a modest uptick in sunspots since yesterday. No real big uptick in the X-ray flux. A modest uptick in the radio flux, we'll get to it. That is October 25th and 26th to date. The SDO continuum depicting sunspots. And the place to really watch is the northeastern limb, although some things have been happening in the southwestern limb as well. So there is colorized magnetogram for that same period. October 25th and October 26th to date. And again, there is a magnetic tug-of-war continuing over there on the east side. Although one side is starting to win, it's the southern polar field. And yeah, it's like a miniature Terminator event. And we're going to talk about solar cycle progression a little bit later in the video. First, let's take a look at what's going on in terms of volcanoes. There's the world's most delicious sounding volcano. It's Stromboli. That must be the Sierra del Fuoco, the site of the most recent lava cascades. The Sierra del Fuoco. So Stromboli does continue to erupt. And, yeah, I don't know. Glowing lava bombs being emitted from Stromboli. Recanes showing up here. The Recanes Ridge. Another swarm of frequent and intense earthquakes there, possibly signaling a new eruption about to occur. I believe it's in the northwestern portion of the volcanic complex. Perhaps another new caldera about to form there on Iceland. Klyuchevskoy also continues to erupt. What's going on at Klyuchevskoy? I don't know. Strombolian activity there, some lava fountaining occurring on the Kamchatka Peninsula. Also Bezimiany extruding some new real estate for Russia. Magma accumulating into the glowing lava dome. Subodose-jima producing a 7,000-foot ash plume. Unknown volcanic ash plume from Mount Mayan. Bulusan. A bunch of earthquakes happening there at Bulusan with rock fracturing and elevated seismic energy. All right. Bulusan there. The uptick continues on the Philippines. Mount Ibu producing an 8,000-foot plume of volcanic ash over Halmahera, Indonesia. Luitolo, 6,000-foot ash plume over the Lesser Sunda Islands. Semeru exploding, flight level 150. It's a 15,000-foot ash plume over East Java, Indonesia. Dakono exploding, flight level 070. Headed down to South America, Nevado del Ruiz exploding, flight level 200. And Purache, located in Colombia, producing some outgassing, sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide emissions there. Also thermal anomalies and a series of low elevation earthquakes there, very close to the surface at only 1 to 4 kilometers depth. indicating a possible eruption coming from Purache. Also, Sangay in Ecuador exploding, flight level 220. Revenador exploding, flight level 150 in that same country. Sabancaya exploding, flight level 200. That's quite a lot of earthquakes, folks. And let's move on. That's quite a lot of volcanoes, some of which are producing earthquakes as magma moves around underground. Next is earthquakes. Here are the past 24 hours, and it's moderate seismic activity here. And here are the quakes of a 5 or greater magnitude for the past 24 hours. New Zealand had a 5.4 there, in between it and Tonga, near the Kermadec Islands. That 5.4 was at 2:59 Universal Time this morning on the 26th. Then Timor-Leste had a deep 5.5 magnitude quake there at over 150 kilometers depth at 5:44 this morning. Then the largest quake of the past 24 hours, I believe, was this 5.9 west of Macquarie Island. That one is south of Australia, right at the Austro-Antarctic plate boundary. That 5.4 at 7:21 this morning. And a temporary lull in 5 magnitude quakes. A series of small quakes across the U.S. west coast and into the northern Rockies. Another 5.9 did occur near Kamchatka there. That 5.9 was at 16:05 Universal Time. And then another series, check it out. 4 rapid succession 5 magnitude quakes. Dominica had that's the Democratic Republic of Congo. Congo had a 5.4 there. Check it out, right in Central Africa there, near the African Rift Zone. Northwest of Lake Victoria there. 5.4 at 1900, and then the Bellany Islands there, and practically on the other side of the world, a 5.6 at 1920, only 20 minutes later. Half an hour later, a 5.1 at Philippines. And then another 40 minutes after that, a 5.1 at Iran, as quakes continue to strike Iran, convincing people that it is indeed the end times. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. So, moving right along back to space stuff. There are the past 24 hours in SDO 171 plus 211 angstroms, and look at that giant coronal hole. And to quote Richard Hammond of Top Gear, "Please stop referring to me as a gaping gash." That is indeed a large and trans-equatorial coronal hole. We can expect a solar uptick in space weather coming in a few days. Could create some mild to maybe even moderate geomagnetic storm conditions. It all depends on the magnetic field power, the magnetic field orientation, and of course the plasma density and speed will figure in. The place to watch is really the northeastern limb here at the moment. There's a lot of features going on there at once on that image. Massive coronal hole, a series of sunspots, huge filaments. As things ramp back up, as we get closer and closer to solar maximum of solar cycle 25. It's exciting times, folks. Exciting times for space weather, and it's only going to get better. Here's the equatorial view. And look at the massive filaments. Just berserk filaments here, especially east of center longitudes. You can see one just south of that coronal hole there, wrapping around the southern tip of that coronal hole. That is the Eric Schmidt solar filament. And here's a close-up of where some activity. There is a filament collapse there, so we figured we'd show a close-up of that real quick. A couple of small sunspots down there. Flaring has been minimal for the past 24 hours. And let's talk about stats. The 10.7, the F107, the radio flux, which is a proportional data set to sunspot number, by the way. Now up to 126 solar flux units. There's the 1-year graph from solon.info. The black line is the radio flux, the red line, the sunspot number, and that needs to be updated. It's now back over 50. Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard. NOAA is acting like it forecasted geomagnetic storm conditions, but those came in unexpectedly. There was a coronal hole wind stream showing up earlier than anticipated. I don't suspect it is that one that's right in the center of the solar disk right now. We can expect that in another about 2 to 3 days. So this weekend, expecting possible geomagnetic storm conditions from a rather significant coronal hole. Next, Earth's magnetic moment from space, and we did have geomagnetic unrest conditions. You might say geomagnetic storm if you're going to round, but that's pushing it. That's the past 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space and magnetohydrodynamic pressure. It's about 12 Earth diameters there, and you can see some variations happening there in the solar wind. That is a model, by the way, the space weather modeling framework. So, again, we may have some aurora still kicking up around the planet right now, although I suspect things are going to be calming down a little bit. These are the past 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground level. And we're showing North America here to show our North American viewers where they might be able to see some aurora tonight as the sun sets over the east coast of the U.S. So that's what's up at the moment. And let's show the global view as well, as we've got plenty of viewers from the southern hemisphere. There's the full Earth view. The last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground in magnetic flux density, the units of which are known as nanotesla, changes to Earth's B field. The B field being the field that goes through the magnet being Earth. While we're on magnetic data, geomagnetism currently in geomagnetic unrest conditions, KP 4.33 is the current situation. It's an early arriving coronal hole high-speed stream, and we got as high as 4.33. I did see some NOAA alerts for a KP5. It never got to KP5. I mean, come on, guys. You got to at least get it to 4.66 in order to call KP5. You can't round 4.33 to 5. So anyway, here's the data from the ACE. And that coronal hole high-speed stream showed up right here. Here's the minor density wave. It was very modest. Not too bad. 16 protons per cubic centimeter as measured by the ACE. Only about 13 as, well, it still got to 16 at the Discover. So there's the ACE. There's a Discover. The Discover saw similar densities. Solar wind speed made it up to about 540 kilometers per second there. Not too shabby. So an early arrival there of a coronal hole high-speed stream. Not super strong, though. No sustained, powerful negative BZ signal. That's the upper frame right here. The vertical orientation of the magnetic field there measured at Lagrangian point 1. So that's what's going on. Current conditions are just under about 505 kilometers per second for the solar wind speed. Solar wind density here about 7 3/4 protons per cubic centimeter. Next goes magnetometers. And as plasma attempts to reach static equilibrium in the outer Van Allen belts, we are seeing some perturbations there. No surprises to our regular viewers during geomagnetic unrest conditions. And it's just about noontime right now. Seeing a little weaker fields as measured by the GOES 16 and GOES 18. That blue N there at the end of the graph, that is noontime local time for the GOES 18 geosynchronous near equatorial satellite. Next, top view ecliptic plane field plot. And what do we got? Earth is in a North Pole oriented section of plasma. That's the magnetic orientation of this sector of the solar system. And it's going to be a ways out until we get to a South Pole oriented current sheet. Here is the line of sight field plot. And there the sun's B field is depicted in blue, polar fields in red for south and green for north. Photosphere magnetic fields there depicted in grayscale, the gong magnetogram. As the magnetic tug-of-war continues over there on the eastern limb, you'll see that current sheet waving up and down as the sun attempts to reach a verdict as to which polar field will win the magnetic tug-of-war over there on the east side. Shout out to my viewers from the east side. And here's our line of sight coronal hole plot as we get to coronal holes. a major feature right now in the cycle. And you can expect coronal holes to only tick up for the next 2 years. Yeah, 2 years, regardless of where we reach solar maximum, because those fields need to make it to the opposite pole. So let's bring up the latest image there, and then we'll show SDO. So there's the latest image. And here's the SDO 211 angstroms wavelength, the optimal wavelength to show that. Those are North Pole-oriented coronal holes there. And they are pretty good ones. This cycle has featured a shortage of coronal holes, which will not continue. Just like low sunspot numbers will not continue. Anyway, once again, there you go. There's that. And let's talk about sunspot number. So sunspot number now, as I forecasted yesterday, is now back up over 50. So there it is. Will it go up more tomorrow? Let us know in the comments what you think. I'm not going to make a prediction today. These things can be unpredictable, and I like to make educated guesses. Anyway, here's what's going on as of October 1st. The north polar field has already reversed, okay? You see this blue line right here? This blue line is the north polar field. It has already crossed zero. It has reversed. However, the south polar field line is nowhere near the zero line yet, and until they both reverse, we will not be at solar maximum officially. It could take a long time. It could happen rather rapidly. As you can see, there are some steep changes that do occasionally occur in the polar fields, but that's really what ultimately determines solar maximum and solar minimum, is when the fields reverse, sunspot numbers, but solar maximum is really when both fields reverse. So, as you can see, solar max is depicted by this pink line right here during each cycle. And you can find that graph yourself if you want to view that yourself. Again, it was updated last on October 1st, so we're just pushing a month behind. It'll be an interesting update the next time we see the update for that. By the way, it does look like solar cycle 25 will be kind of short, significantly shorter than cycle 24, and significantly stronger than solar cycle 24. And NOAA tends to agree. So this is NOAA's forecast. And yeah, you'll see this graph all over everywhere. Everybody's going to be, some people will have their hair on fire. Some people will try to short light and say they forecasted it. But NOAA now forecasting a much shorter solar cycle, expecting solar max to be sometime late in the year next year. So moving the estimate back about 6 months there is NOAA. And with the strength of the cycle, its comparative appearance to solar cycle 23, I would tend to agree. No arguments with me there. And solar cycle 25 could still exceed cycle 23, just so you know. Although I would expect it to be similar to cycle 23, much stronger than cycle 24. And yeah, so that's the forecast from NOAA and from me. Solar cycle 25 will probably be similar to 23. Maybe a little bit smaller cycle than 23, but close to cycle 23, much bigger than cycle 24. Which was a super weak cycle. Cycle 25 is nothing like that. Next to sunspots. And there you go. Likelihood of solar flares has gone up a little bit, mainly because of the activity there in the northeast. These sunspots still do have some complex magnetism, but the main place to keep an eye on, and when I say eye on, the pun is intentional, up here in the northeast is where to watch. And let's cut to the SDO. So again, you'll see mixed magnetic fields up there, big time. There is a magnetic tug of war happening as one solar polar field attempts to gain supremacy on the eastern limb. You'll see all kinds of mixed magnetism over there. And yeah, those are the facts. I calls them like I sees them. Here's SDO continuum. A little bit of growth in this sunspot group down here. These are 24-hour SDO HMI videos. And, oh, you know what? Let me go back to this. So there are sunspots up here that have to get named. Why they're not named yet, I do not know. It is beyond me. There are clearly, I mean, those sunspots have been there a long time. Especially this one, but there are really 3 sunspot groups there last I checked. So there should be, I guess, another uptick in sunspots here. I mean, if there are 3 unnamed sunspot groups, that means that we should have about at least 20 more sunspots as of tomorrow's video. Here we've added 171 angstroms just to highlight the active regions. And what's next? What's next, you ask? So do I. Solar energetic particles. The likelihood of an SEP event is now much higher. So don't be surprised to see a solar energetic particle event at the moment. None for weeks. X-ray flux here still remaining below a sea level at the background. Background flux only about a B6. Not the vitamin. You can find those at amazon.com/shop/smashomash. So a little bit of flaring happening here as we produce the video. And it is actually coming from the northeast. We'll show you it here in a moment. First, let's talk about what's going on overhead. So we've brought up a star chart from skyandtelescope.org. So there's what's going on now. The sun just dipping below the horizon here over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. You've got the moon and the Saturn. The moon and the Saturn up there, if you're viewing the evening sky. And the fourth brightest object is setting over there right now. That's the red planet. The red, boring, barren planet that mankind is never going to colonize. Mars. Almost as uninteresting as dumb cultists who want to colonize it. What a stupid idea. Who wants to go on a suicide mission to a crappy barren planet with 0 usable resources? Dumb. Next, the solar system forecast. Since we've showed you where things are today, let's show you where things will be in a week. Shall we? Just kidding, folks. This is a dictatorship. It's a space weather dictatorship. Here's where things will be on November 2nd. And remember, folks, a benevolent dictatorship is vastly superior to a malevolent democracy. So here we've got some Orionids in the constellation Taurus. There is that one thing known as the Pleiades. Yeah, that's what it is, the Pleiades. What is it? The Seven Sisters or something? So yeah, that's the astronomy photo of the day. Some green meteorites there from Halley's Comet. Last appeared to the naked eye in 1986. I won't tell you if I remember it, as that would be dating myself. And let's move on to a fascinating story. So a fascinating heliophysics story coming at you here. Solar radio jets detected during that annular eclipse. So you see those bright spots there? That is radio frequency. So at the bottom you've got visible light, and then you've got radio telescope imagery there at the top. Just fantastic. And that is from the Owens Valley Observatory there, located in California, I believe it is. You can find that article on SciTech Daily. Might be the first time we ever got those kind of images of solar radio jets during an annular eclipse. A perfect time to view them. And I think there's actually a video here. Give it a minute. Sup with that. Sup with that. There we go. There you see those bright spots there. Multiple different radio frequencies. And, you know, fun fact, back in the mid-1990s, when I was taking college astronomy, I was told by a college professor or two that radio astronomy was the thing of the future. Everybody used to look at radio astronomy back then and go, ew, that's boring. I want, like, visible light and things. But those dudes were right. Those dudes were right. Anyway, here's another fascinating cosmology story. The Gaia mission. Yeah, the Gaia mission. It's freaking berserk. check this out. And you'll hear stories all over the internet about the Gaia mission. People are going to be like, cosmologists are all idiots because they've discovered things that they can't explain. So now this isn't as weird as it looks. This is a globular cluster known as the Omega Centauri globular cluster. And the Gaia has a capability to scrub out the center portion of it because it's super bright. And the purpose was to get a good image of the outer stars to see how their motions are acting. Now this one looks like it's got very homogeneous stars in it. Well, there's a pretty good mix there. Globular clusters, they're really weird. They're like a galaxy inside a galaxy. And yeah, that's just a insanely huge image there, where they scrubbed out the center portion to be able to get imagery of the outer portion to get a better idea of what's going on out there. So globular clusters are where the center of the globular cluster is. There are things called open clusters that still orbit a center, but they're not like as homogeneous. Globular clusters are very homogeneous, and they orbit a common center of gravity. So there is the Omega Centauri globular cluster in its full imagery. It's like a galaxy inside of a galaxy, and they do vary quite a bit. Sometimes they have a bunch of hot stars, sometimes they have homogeneous stars, and sometimes they have a mix. So there it is with that center portion scrubbed out. And the Gaia mission is an extremely courageous mission, I guess you could say. It's designed to get a holistic image of the entire universe and really give us some additional insights into what's going on. So if you want to read more about that, check out the article on SciTech Daily. It's on page 2 right now when we produce the video. And of course, it's been doing a lot more than that. Lots of interesting cosmology coming out of the Gaia mission. And we're not here to tell you that cosmologists are idiots. I mean, yes, cosmology is based on heliophysics, so a sudden revolution in heliophysics will change all of cosmology. However, the work that cosmologists are doing is not a waste of time. They're not dummies. The universe and stars are not electric, so just stop with the pseudoscience and let's move on to X-rays. We're coming back to solar activity here. It is the daily space weather after all, right? Let's pause for station identification. You've reached the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. There are the past 24 hours in SDO 131 plus 94 angstroms. And again, you'll see flaring in the northeast and the southwest. And let's switch to coronagraphs. I got good news for you. The George Mason University coronagraphs are back. So there are yesterday's CMEs. There are today's CMEs. Only 13 frames from today. We've got a bunch of missing frames from the Soho Lasco coronagraphs for whatever reason. And there you can see a bunch of missing data. I don't suspect we missed any big CMEs or anything, but we'll let this play through and then we'll show our custom images after we show stereo A. So here we've got the C2 on the left ahead of the C3. Time and date stamps are visible there at the bottom. If you see a feature on C2, you should be able to see that same feature there momentarily on the C3. It's been quiet for coronal mass ejections, and there certainly is a very high potential of Earth-directed coronal mass ejections. We've got a number of number of filaments that are named after oligarchs, except for, of course, the Neil Diamond filament. And there is a new one to name as well. Let's take a look at stereo A. It's pretty unremarkable. That's where stereo A is located. And if you're wondering what that is there over on the left side of the coronagraphs, that is the planet Mercury. Not Nibiru, not a spaceship. It's Mercury. So pretty quiet for CMEs. And let's cut to our custom coronagraphs. And you can see a bunch of missing frames there. We're just going to zoom in here. This isn't so good, so we won't spend a lot of time on that. And let's get rid of C3 and move in one more step. You'll see this filamentary collapse right here. Doesn't look like it led to a CME, so I was wondering if that one might be earthly directed earlier today. It doesn't look like it even amounted to anything except a splashdown. A tiny little hider flare happened there as that filament collapsed, but look at the filaments from center to the east side. Massive filaments all over that solar disk. So that's what's up. And here are filaments from the Big Bear Observatory. So, by the way, if you want to name filaments after living people, go right ahead over on Twitter. This one's the Neil Diamond. This is the Mark Zuckerberg. This is the Sonia Agora. This is the Eric Schmidt. This is the Larry Page. This is the Sundar Pichai. And we've got one more that could use a name, that one right there. If you'd like to stop seeing filaments be named after big tech oligarchs, then join us over on Twitter. At the moment, we've got 6 named filaments. By the way, Sonia Agora is not a big tech oligarch. Filament was named after her because she's been shadow banned on Twitter. Yeah, shadow banned. You got to watch what you say, folks. There are certain words that you can't say or your video will get like 0 views. So enjoy that. It's very useful to mankind. It's a real asset to society. Censorship. Super good for everybody involved, including shareholders. They love it. They're not being misled at all. Anyway, here's our Twitter, and thanks to our new followers over there, x.com/smashomash. If you want to name filaments after living people, that's where to do it. At x.com/smashomash. Just make sure you follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament. If you want to name one, just tell us which one you want named. You know, put an arrow to it or something like that. Describe where it's located. And you'll have participated in naming filaments. So we've also got some prominences here. A big one in the southwest, a big one around the South Polar region, and a big one in the northeast, as there might be even more activity rising there behind the eastern limb. So those are facts. And let's cut to the GOES 16 SUVI. It's about time to get the bonus features. That's the past couple of hours. And again, that latest C-class flare came out of this active region right here. So that a bunch of filaments over there. Again, many of those could become coronal mass ejections. Will a solar filament end civilization anytime soon? Well, certainly not. There is about a 0% chance of that, folks. So sorry if you're hoping for civilization to end sometime soon. Not very likely. Anyway, here come bonus features, starting with satellite charging hazards. We've got some significant ones here of the internal, of the surface charging variety. So major surface charging hazards there over the northern Indian Ocean, Saudi Arabia, India, and China, Cambodia, Thailand. Okay. Those surface charging hazards are caused by low-energy electrons which build up on the outside of spacecraft. You could see some minor communications errors there, but no major errors and no major damage or anything like that to the satellites. Just surface charging hazards around the northern Indian Ocean. Next goes electron flux here. It did dip when that coronal hole high-speed stream struck. Our regular viewers would have probably expected that, but it was a mild geomagnetic storm, so we are expecting this to, well, it might actually last for days here, so really no idea what the solar wind's going to do next. If you've got ideas, let us know in the comments. Today I'm not forecasting that solar wind for the next couple of days because that coronal hole high-speed stream showed up so early. Anyway, there's the 1-year relativistic electron chart from Solon.info. Here's the NOAA forecast. See, NOAA was expecting that coronal hole high-speed stream to show up later, which is why it's showing that dip. So those might be off by quite a bit. The green boxes are the forecast. The yellow diamonds are the observation. And here's the F flare where that is measured using radiography. The F flare at about 300 kilometers of altitude. Here is its vibrational frequency. And we are seeing quite a bit of low frequency anomalies here. So it was a decent geomagnetic unrest pulse there. So some scintillating activity occurring there in the F ionosphere. Don't be effed. Understand what's going on in the ionosphere. And thanks for watching our channel, by the way. We show it daily. And if you're spooked to the pole flip, I would ask you, then why aren't we seeing stuff moving around all spookily on the ionosphere? How come things look so stable? Where are the quadrupoles? Like, what? It's the poles aren't flipping, folks. It's like all kinds of things would be shown in the data if certain spooky things were happening. We don't see those spooky things, so we don't think that they're happening. Facts. Anyway, there's the latest image. That's 2215 universal time ionogram and 2215 universal time anomalygram. And before we get to the total electron content, there is the WAM, the whole atmosphere model. Total electron content on the left, maximum usable frequency on the right, the whole planet at a glance. And next, like I said, we are going to show total electron content here. We're going to skip the full Earth model, and we're just going to show North America. There is the North American anomaly from the 10-day average. And if you're wondering if I'm hiding data, the answer is absolutely not. The full globe total electron content view looks erroneous, so we're not going to show it because this looks like it's legit data. And we are seeing some high electron content anomalies here over portions of the Caribbean, North America, Central America. There you can see some high electron content anomalies popping up. That is free electrons from about 12,500 miles of altitude, the location of your GPS satellite, down to handset level. Last but not least, sunspots. What's up with sunspots? So I see 2 significant sunspot groups which have grown since yesterday up there in the northeastern limb. What's that? You want to know the classification? Okay. That is beta class, and that is beta gamma class. Now this area did produce some flaring, but the flare came from down here somewhere, so it's actually southwest of the actual sunspot there. This group down here is beta gamma class. Do we have a new group down here? There's a new group down there also. So there's another, that's a beta class sunspot as well. Whoops. There we go. Beta, is it reverse? No, it's not. It is normal polarity. You could make the argument that it's beta gamma class, but it's pretty weak. Down here, beta gamma class and alpha class. So expect to see another uptick in the sunspot number, probably something like 30 more sunspots, sunspot number moving up to around 80 for tomorrow's A Daily Space Weather video. There's a forecast for you. Yeah, we use facts. Facts and actual science, not propaganda and utter nonsense to do forecasting. It's a crazy thing, folks. Crazy. Oh, watch out. Facts are so controversial. Oh, noes. Watch out, folks. We're obfuscators of the truth. Oh, we're obfuscators of the truth, folks. So we're looking at cold temperatures now, invading into the northwestern U.S. Does it mean the sun's shutting down? Well, that's not really the way climate works. Certainly not the way weather works. And Greenland's not all that cold. It's only 25 degrees below zero in the coldest spot in Greenland. The world's coldest temperatures are certainly in Antarctica, negative 74.3 degrees. Hottest temperatures, you ask? I don't know. Looks like West Africa. 94 degrees over there, and is that Liberia? I don't know. Whatever. So those are some temperatures for you. And here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, we're going to show next surface winds. So there you go. There are the surface winds of the east. Here are the jet streams of the east. Here are the jet streams of the central world. Surface winds. Shut up, Smash staff, or you're getting a pay cut. All right, you can get the same pay. Surface winds of the west, depicted here. Have they pressed like yet, Smash staff? Yeah. She's lying for you once again. Lying and saying you've pressed like. I know that you haven't pressed like. Press the like button now, lest thy soul be cast into an ever-deepening and darkening abyss of doo-doo diarrhea dog duke. Doo-doo diarrhea dog duke. Or something. Surface winds of the west are looking like this. Surface winds are now changed out. We've got a huge check it out, folks. We've got an anticyclone over the Gulf of Mexico. Oh my God. What will Forrest Gump on his shrimp boat do with an anticyclone overhead? Dear God, it's an upper level high pressure system. Now that I got that out of my system, continuing on to show the visible satellite over that blue marble in black and white. And if your flat Earth pals want an image of the Earth, well, there it is. The NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. There it is, folks. Yeah, it shows curvature. Anyway, some ice coming to Texas, by the way. Maybe even some tiny bit of snow. But there is that cold air making its way down from Canada as it gets all white. And under the cloud cover, you can see some snow there on the ground. There's a lot more to come. So check it out. Here comes a forecast, and yowzers. We've got areas with over a foot of snow already, and it's not even November, folks. Here's our snow depth analysis. And watch this. By Sunday, there'll be snow in New Mexico. Largest totals expected to be there in Wyoming and southern Montana. Anyway, here's your weather.gov map. If your location is lit, click your county. You can visit a website. Weather.gov is the one we're looking at. The National Weather Service homepage. Some flooding there. Some winter storm watches and warnings. Some gale warnings, and so on. Weather.gov to get yours. And here come some forecasts. First, the GFS 72-hour pressure and precipitation. A big ice storm is coming to portions of Texas, Oklahoma, and mainly Kansas. Kansas is going to get iced up. Look at that. That is a significant ice storm. Also, there'll be some sleet. Dag. And some ice coming to Texas. Wintry mix is headed your way. Southern central U.S. There's going to be basically a bomb cyclone there. You can see those pressure lines. See these pressure lines right up here? They're all tightly pushed together, that is what leads to blizzard-like conditions. Anyway, here's your accumulated snow depth change forecast. So an additional, check it out, an additional 18 inches coming to portions of Colorado, according to the GFS 72-hour model at least. There you go. The hot air will not prevent all of that, and there is a lot of hot air coming out of Colorado. Next, total accumulated precipitation, since there's flooding forecasted there. Now flooding forecasted for Arkansas, Missouri, parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, Illinois, even Indiana. But mainly around the New Madrid fault zone, actually, there. The southeastern tip of Missouri. Well, you see it. There's the map. It's a total accumulated precipitation for the next 72 hours in inches. Arkansas is going to get kaplastered. Next, temperature anomaly forecast as frigid temperatures continue, especially across Montana, seeing as low as 16 to 20 degrees Celsius below normal there. Even like 25 degrees C below normal. It's going to be an early winter for quite a while there, as we reach nearly 80 degrees here in Pennsylvania. So huge temperature variations there. High temperature anomalies in the south and east. Low temperature anomalies in the northwest. And here's what's in charge of it, that jet stream. So the jet stream there allowing warm air to come up north and bringing cold air way down south. Way down south to the land of cotton. My feet stink and yours smell rotten. Next, lightning, and we're not going to show it because that's old data. So, well, let's show it anyway because that's a lot of lightning there. Check it out. Springtime there in the northern South American continent. Dag. Pretty berserk lightning yesterday, but no data from today. So here's a real-time map. This is what's currently going on. Got some strikes there around central Mexico, but it's pretty mild as far as lightning on a global scale. 169 strikes per minute there, according to lightningmaps.org, powered by blitzortung.org. I use it when I hear thunder. I don't know. I'm not going to encourage you to do anything. I don't care. I don't care. Next, U.S. Doppler radar, there's the 50-state view. We're going to be looking at the lower 48 view. So that's how things are playing out here at the moment. Here's the visible satellite while we're looking at things. And here is the water vapor map. That should clear things up if your Doppler is unclear. And hopefully you're able to forecast your weather all the way from space down to Earth. Here's your recap. Don't forget to press the like button, or we will find you, and we will do absolutely nothing to you. Tell your friends and foes about the channel, or else. Visible satellite, and we close out with water vapor. You can see that clockwise rotation over the Gulf. Spook your friends and foes by forecasting lightning, by forecasting weather, and by knowing what's going on generally. And whatever you do, don't be gaslit and call out shartlighters. See you soon. I'll have been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And since I'm spooked of space, because I've been consuming a lot of utter garbage and bollocks, otherwise known as pseudoscience, on YouTube about space, I'm climbing back down to the bunker. In the meantime, may that solar wind be at your back. I'm going back to the bunker again. You heard about a shoe, it comes to climbing.